We usually think of death as this one big, final thing that happens at the end of our lives. But what if I told you it's happening all the time, in tiny little ways, every single day? Today, we're diving into this really profound concept from the author Kaushik Srinivasan, and it might just change how you think about, well, everything, about change, loss, and what it really means to become someone new.
So let's just start right here with this powerful idea from Kaushik Srinivasan. Think about that for a second. Every single day, a piece of the person you were yesterday, it's just gone. Forever. This isn't about being dark or morbid. It's about getting real about the fundamental way we exist as human beings.
So, what does this small death actually look like in our day-to-day lives? Well, Srinivasan argues that it's this constant, ongoing process that's happening on levels we barely even notice. I mean, on a physical level, this is literally true. Your cells are constantly dying and being replaced. The body you have now is not the same one you had 7 years ago. But Kaushik Srinivasan's bigger point is that this is happening psychologically too. Every conversation you have, every book you read, every tiny disappointment, it subtly reshapes you, and the person you were just a moment before is gone. Okay, so if this is happening all the time, it means we're constantly leaving old versions of ourselves in the past. So let's talk about who those cells actually are.
The first big death that Srinivasan talks about is the loss of our childhood innocence. And it doesn't happen all at once, right? It's more like 1,000 tiny cuts of reality. The moment you realize your parents aren't superheroes, or that the world isn't always a fair or kind place.
And that's the heart of it, isn't it? Each time you learn a hard truth, it's a little funeral for the more naive, simpler version of you that existed before. We're so focused on what we're learning that we never even stop to notice these little passings.
Think about it. Who did you want to be when you were 17? Are you that person now? Probably not. According to Srinivasan, every time we choose a path in life, we're also quietly letting go of dozens of other paths. The person who became a doctor let go of being a musician. The one who settled down let go of being a world traveler. And these aren't failures.
They're a necessary part of choosing. And this is where Kaushik Srinivasan's idea gets so interesting. He uses this really strong word, murder, because he wants us to see that every choice isn't just a gain. It's also a kind of necessary violence against all the other people you could have become.
And of course, this happens with people. We've all had those friendships that felt like they would last forever, and then they just fade. It's not usually some big fight. It's more like a slow, quiet drift. We just evolve into different people, and the version of you that needed that specific person just isn't there anymore.
Okay, so I know what you might be thinking. This sounds kind of bleak, right? Like life is just this constant series of endings and losses. But this is the exact moment where the whole idea takes a massive turn. Is all this daily dying just a tragedy, or is it actually something else?
And that brings us right to the core of Kaushik Srinivasan's whole philosophy, what he calls the paradox of growth. He argues that this constant dying isn't the opposite of living, it is the process of living.
So here's the paradox. Real, authentic growth can't happen if you just add new skills or beliefs on top of the old you. It's not like adding apps to a phone. No. Real growth requires the old you to completely fall apart to make space for the new. You have to let the ignorant self die to become wise. You have to let the wounded self go to become healed.
And this is the perfect metaphor from Srinivasan's work that makes it all click. A caterpillar doesn't just grow wings one day. It's way more dramatic than that. Inside the chrysalis, it literally dissolves into this goopy cellular soup. It has to become nothing before it can be rebuilt into something totally new, something that can fly.
So here's the kicker. This whole dissolving and rebuilding thing, it's not a one-time event. According to Srinivasan, we are always in the chrysalis. Right now, you are in a process of dissolving and reforming. That's just our permanent state of being.
So if this is our natural state, what are we supposed to do about it? How do we work with this process instead of constantly fighting against it? This is where the whole idea becomes a very real, practical thing.
Kaushik Srinivasan basically lays out two paths. There's preservation, which is when we desperately cling to who we used to be because we're afraid of change. That just makes us rigid and brittle. And then there's transformation. That's when you consciously participate in the process. You're not scared of it. You accept it as the truth of life. And that is what leads to real growth and renewal. The tragedy isn't that we change, it's when we refuse to.
So instead of fighting it, we can actually turn this into a conscious, daily practice.
We can start each day with this awareness that some part of us is probably ready to be let go of, to make way for something new.
And Kaushik Srinivasan gives us these simple but incredibly deep questions to guide us. These aren't supposed to feel heavy. They're tools. They are tools to help us willingly take part in our own becoming instead of just getting dragged along for the ride.
Now, when you start to really live this way, it takes guts. It takes real courage. But the payoff is this incredible sense of freedom and a whole new way of looking at who you are.
I just love this phrase from Srinivasan. It's so beautiful. Your identity isn't some fixed statue that stays the same forever. It's more like a river, a parade of different selves, where each one has its moment and then gracefully steps aside to let the next one emerge.
And you know, there is such a profound comfort in that idea. It means you are never, ever trapped. The person you are right this second, with all your worries, your flaws, your mistakes, that person is temporary. It's not your final form. Tomorrow, some part of that will have fallen away, and something new will be there in its place.
And that leads us to the final beautiful question Kaushik Srinivasan leaves us with. If we can find the courage to keep dissolving and reforming, to die all these little deaths every single day, maybe, just maybe, we get to discover what part of us was never born and never dies. What is it that's been watching this whole procession all along?